Joining us now from Washington is political director John Dickerson. John, good to have you with us this morning. Boy, lots to talk about as we get started here. Let's kick this off with these latest allegations of a 13-year affair. Herman Cain speaking out pretty candidly about it with Wolf Blitzer yesterday, but then his attorney's statement was a little bit different, I would say, in feeling. How does this impact his campaign?
Well, it's a tough blow. It's hard to see how he comes back from this because look at where the campaign was before these allegations came along. He was battling against those harassment stories. He was dropping in the polls also because of a series of miscues on foreign policy questions. People couldn't really see him as commander-in-chief. His campaign was struggling to get back on track, and now this blow, it's a really tough blow for him. At the very least, it's a distraction. At the worst, it's a death blow to the campaign. How
much more are we going to hear about it? I mean, did he do enough to sort of quell this, he and his attorney, with the statement about, look, this is, and I'm quoting here, there's no obligation to discuss these types of accusations, and his attorney saying any candidate's private sexual life is off limits?
Well, that's a position for the attorney to take, and the question is whether voters, particularly, as Nancy mentioned, evangelical social conservatives who play a big role in the early states of Iowa and South Carolina, whether they think that's enough. We've had lots of discussion in presidential politics about the private sexual lives, perhaps too much, but voters aren't they're going to have to make the decision themselves, and this issue may linger out there in part for Cain, though. If the issue isn't a big deal, that's a sign that his candidacy has slipped, that everybody else is talking about Romney and Gingrich. So in that sense, it's not great for him if it's not talked about.
But that's actually sort of interesting. If it's not great for him that it's not talked about, it means his candidacy has slipped. It wouldn't mean that his candidacy is strong enough that he can deflect this?
Well, he could deflect it if he had an answer that pierced it completely, and the conflict both between his answer and his lawyer's answer creates A, confusion, and B, doesn't really answer the question for voters.
Let's move on now to Newt Gingrich, calling himself a lot more conservative than Mitt Romney. He also says he's more electable. How will those claims hold up as we move closer to primaries, caucuses, and of course the general election?
Well, Gingrich is now the alternative to Romney, and on this question of who is the better conservative, that will be an interesting fight. Gingrich is engaging it. Romney has not so far. That campaign is basically hoping that Gingrich goes the way of all the other challengers, which is that he sort of falls of his own problems. On the question of electability, that's interesting because polls show that Romney is the more electable. Republicans believe right now Romney is the more electable candidate. Gingrich's point is in debates, I can beat Barack Obama. I'm the tougher candidate out there, and we'll have to see if he's right.
John Dickerson, always nice to talk with you, John. Thanks.